you need to tack on the 50 cents and charge that to the customer. So in, say, China, so the customer is getting paid $10.50. The customer in China will say, well, if that's what you're going to do, then I'm just going to buy from another country. I'm going to buy from Brazil. I'm going to buy from Argentina. And so what ends up resulting in agriculture is those costs are not passed on, those transportation costs are not passed on to the customer, they're passed on to the farmer. So if the price of transportation is 50 cents a bushel, the farmer will get paid $9.50 a bushel, not $10 a bushel. So that disparity between the market value of the commodity and what a farmer actually receives at the local delivery option is called basis. That's that discrepancy. So a lot of times you'll hear farmers say, we're at a negative 30, or sometimes you're even at a positive 5, or a negative $1. And so that's what they're referring to as that discrepancy. So the chart at the top expresses what kind of the current status quo is. And what you would expect is that, and what we routinely see, is that a farmer will get a higher percentage of the market value of what he or she grows based on how efficient and cost-effective the subsequent transportation system is. And so if you're located in proximity to the river, you as a farmer are going to get more percentage of the value of that soybean, those bushels of soybeans, compared to someone who's far removed from it, like in North Dakota or in South Dakota. So as you can see on that chart at the top, if you're in areas of blue or in green, that means you're kind of in a slightly positive basis or a slightly negative basis. So you might be getting $10.05 a bushel or $9.95 a bushel. You're getting a higher value of what you produce. If you're located in more of the rust areas, you're getting substantially less. It just, as you go from yellow to orange to rust, that means there's a greater discrepancy. That basis has widened. So that's the current status quo. And so what I ask the researchers to do is, if that's the way it currently is, what happens if you make the supply chain even more efficient? Would you expand that area of agriculture where farmers are getting a higher percentage of what they grow? And the research is very compelling. And this is just a chart from the state of Iowa, but we have these for a host of other states like Missouri, Illinois, Minnesota, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Kentucky, Ohio, etc. And we have maps just like this that just shows what happens when you make that supply chain more efficient by dredging the lower Mississippi River to 50 feet. Essentially what you're doing here, loading more soybeans per vessel, driving down the ultimate cost of that transportation, making it more efficient. And so as you're seeing, as you'd expect, the blue areas are expanding, the green areas are expanding, the yellow areas are crowding out the orange areas are crowding out the rust areas. And so that's the projection. And so what we actually did is try to quantify that. And this is more than just cowboy math on the back of an envelope, being able to quantify what that actually means for soybean farmers. And for the state of Iowa, it's quite profound. Every year you would see $71.5 million just being retained in the state in farmers' wallets, circulating on Main Street, circulating in that economy, not because supply fundamentals have changed, not because demand fundamentals have changed, but just because transportation is more efficient. The total U.S. impact would be $461 million each year. So I think it's a very profound result from this study. And if I'm asked, what's the one investment that I would like to see made to help enhance the profitability from a transportation perspective that would enhance the profitability of the U.S. soybean farmer, this would be it. Because it's going to have an impact on a wide range of states. And even for those states that are not located close to the river, because if you make the supply chain more efficient, there's going to be more of an attraction for barge transportation. That's going to expand the geographic reach for barge transportation, which that will create more overlap between areas served by rail versus areas served by barge. What we repeatedly see, if you're a customer, is that when you have modal competition, that exerts a downward pressure on freight rates. And so you can see these states like Nebraska, like the Dakotas, benefiting quite substantially, not as much as like Iowa or Illinois or Missouri, but they are going to benefit as well in the form of lower freight rates because of this greater modal competition. So this is something that we would like to see occur, and working with our friends in various states, including down in southern Louisiana. Another issue that we're working on, and we released a study on this last month, it relates to being able to improve our lock and dam system, not by government writing a bigger check, but by providing greater predictability of that funding. And this is just, yeah, if money grew on trees, we wouldn't occupy our time with this argument. But my crystal ball is not perfect, but what my crystal ball suggests is that we're going to continue to exist in a resource-constricted environment for the foreseeable future. And so we need to ask ourselves, yes, we would like greater degrees of investment, but we also need to make sure that those taxpayer dollars are stretched further and eliminating as much waste as possible. How I like to describe it is how we allocate money is just as important as how much money we allocate. And one of the frustrations I have with how we approach building and repairing and replacing and modernizing our lock and dam system is that these are very expensive assets that require multiple years to address. But yet we fund those via unpredictable, unreliable, piecemeal appropriations. And you're really setting yourself up for cost overruns and project delays. And one of the messages that I try to stress, and one of the reactions I try to combat is when there's these examples of these cost overruns and project delays on locks and dams, it's so easy for members of Congress to be indignant, to slam their fist on the table and basically say, how did this happen? What Keystone Cop operation allowed this to occur? And one of the messages I try to transmit to them is one of the big reasons why we continue to see this and why we will continue to see this is because of how you, members of Congress, are allocating the funding. These should not be regarded as unintended consequences. They need to be regarded as predictable outcomes. I cannot think of an expensive capital project, regardless of what it is, that was completed on time and within budget that did not have predictable and reliable funding. And so the fact that that's how we fund these projects, you're setting yourself up for it. We will continue to see that. And so my encouragement to those in the audience and an encouragement to our industry is, yes, let's continue to talk about the need for greater investment levels in our locks and dams. Let's continue to talk about that. But let's also complement that message with we need to provide more predictability of funding and not just park on writing a bigger check, because I think if we pin all of our hopes and dreams and aspirations on that, we will be a very disappointed group of people.